Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Hosted Bar. As always, I'm Erin Ogden. We're here with Don Maloney, and today we have a special guest of Gaurav Pranami. And Gaurav, you can talk a little bit more about who you are, but I think it'll be interesting because once you say who you are and what you do, when they hear what topic we want to talk about, people go, "Wait, why are they doing that?" And then once they hear your answers, they'll be like, "Oh yeah." So,
Oh, wow. Okay.
Graf, why don't you say a little bit about who you are, what you're doing, and so for me, my answer of what are you drinking, I thought, given the topic today, which is kind of employment, I went with a dark and stormy.
Okay.
So, what is it that you are drinking, as well as who are you, what you do?
Yeah, so I have this amazing smoothie, banana blueberry with almonds.
Yummy.
That sounds
And
good.
it looks as good as it is delicious.
Oh,
Mm.
jealous. Jealous.
Oh, so delicious.
I would
How
say
about you, Don? What are you having?
I'm having a cranberry lime club soda
Mm.
with actual like cranberry lime seltzer water, but actually cranberry juice mixed into it too. So double cranberry here, I guess, over here.
Okay.
Thought I
Awesome.
wanted something refreshing. So
That sounds great.
Perfect. So, Gaurav, you work for Embed Biosciences.
Yes, that's
So
correct.
talk a little bit about like what you do there.
Yeah. So, currently I'm serving in the role of Vice President Research and Development at Embed Biosciences. And as a company, what we do is develop novel biomaterials for soft tissue repair. So what that specifically means is we develop products that are designed to combat pain and infection in a variety of wounds that include acute wounds, trauma wounds, chronic wounds like diabetic ulcers, venous stasis ulcers, large burns and surgical wounds. So, in my role, I provide technical leadership at all levels in the company. So what that includes is, figuring out what are the unmet clinical needs in this, wound care space, designing and developing products that can address those unmet needs, and also developing processes to make these products at large scale. In addition, filing patents, preparing the regulatory submissions to the FDA to get the products approved for marketing in the US and also in international markets. And in addition to all that, we also we also write federal grants and develop research and development collaborations externally. So I mean that's a lot of things that we do, and we have a I have consistently had a fairly small team. So most of the time during my 8 years at Embed, I've had somewhere between 4 to 8 people in my team, depending on the time of the year. Uh, and to be as productive as we have been with a small group, that gives me a lot of pride and joy in the team that we have been able to build. And I think a lot of that I will speak today is basically coming from my own experiences and the work that we do in our own group.
I would say, and I know like I've even got to experience your leadership, but also even try out that wound stuff.
Hmm.
Had me come in and chat with your group, but also get to see all of the moving parts over there. And you are just a valuable leader. And this is where I think it's, you know, how do growing teams, and finding good employees,
Yeah,
especially when it's something that is so specialized, and also too it's like you're making changes in the world.
So
yeah.
I want to do a disclaimer. If I'm telling someone to it's not you guys. I happen to have an audience next door, so any shing does not mean for you or Don. So continue on.
Totally understood. That's quite all right. Yeah, I mean, so the question is, how do you find good employees, right? What I've learned is that it's a combination of doing the diligence of finding really great people, and then once they are in your company, in your group, you have to mentor them, you have to teach them, you have to give them a long runway where they can do things freely, independently, without the fear of making mistakes and being judged for it. I think that kind of environment really is what has made our group really, productive in the way we have been. So as a context, what have we done, right? So I joined the company in 2014, December of 2014. I was the fourth employee at that time. Today, we are 60 people in the company. A lot of the new staff is on the manufacturing side and sales side. Our research team has stayed relatively small. But this little research team, we have developed one product that is FDA cleared. It is being marketed currently. It's been used in more than 250,000 patients to date, and we have seen really fantastic results. And in addition to that, we have filed regulatory submissions for this product abroad also. And then we have a couple of products that are in the pipeline that have been developed and are currently under regulatory review. We have another collaboration with the FDA, with the United States Army's Institute of Surgical Research. So having this portfolio of products, designing them to completion, developing processes to make them, a lot of this work, preparing the regulatory submission, we did that in this little group. But what has been a real pleasure is that the people that are on my team, they are just really fantastic people, and I'm more than happy to tell you how we go about finding these gems and polishing them.
Right. So I think that's an thing, because that what you're talking about with your company is not general, right? Like this is a specialized thing. People have to have skills.
Yeah. Right.
I can also, it's kind of a cool thing, right? So I imagine you have a lot of people that want the job, but can they do the job? And I imagine that you have a lot of people that are like, oh yeah, I'm detail oriented. Oh yeah, I have these skills, I have these things, and we'll have cover letters and resumes, and we'll tell you that is. But how do you actually get past kind of that puffery where yeah, they want the cool job, so they're going to tell you what you want to hear, and find out, are they really gems worth polishing, or are they chunks of gravel that the more you polish, the more they disintegrate?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great analogy. Yeah, I mean, so really, I mean, I don't want to speak in very general terms, but at the same time, I want to speak in a way that it sort of appeals to a broad audience. So I'll start by saying that, as a leader, being aware of who I am and understanding what different types of personalities are out there is very important. So just that understanding of who I am as a person, how I lead, and who I am interviewing, and how could they fit in that team is very important. But even before that, before we think about adding someone to that team, we do we invest a lot of time in deciding really what role we are trying to fill. So as a team, all of us sit down and we figure out, well, here are all the things that we are doing today, and here are the things that we are not able to do because we are resource constrained, and we want to bring this new person to do all these things. So a very clear description of what that person is going to do. and then a very honest and detailed thinking on what their growth will look like in the company. So if they come into this role, how would they grow? Because I want anyone on my team, I want them to come in, not just do their job, but also thrive and grow to always be a better version of themselves, right? So we always think about how they would grow. Obviously, we also think very carefully about what specific skills we would need them to bring to the table. And then, we have a very well-defined, clear-cut, objective idea of how we would score them. And it's a long list of things. We don't leave, no detail is too much. So it's a long list. And the reason why we have this list is that later on, we want to be objective in our assessment, not subjective. And then we also have a small weightage to gut feeling, because that's important. No matter how analytical and objective you try to be, there's always that little bit of gut feeling that goes into these decisions. But you spoke about how do you get past the puffery, right? So people telling you what you want to hear. And what I've noticed is that people reveal themselves in little things. So I found that 30-minute, 45-minute interviews are just never enough. So in my group, we stopped doing that a long time ago. Whenever we interview anybody, we interview them for at least 4 hours, and all of it in a group setting. And the thrust is that we are having a conversation with this individual. All the people on the interview team get to see the same thing, so they are getting that consistent picture of what the candidate is saying, and all of us are able to evaluate it from our own sort of prism, because all of us have different strengths, different skills, different personalities. So that gives us a feeling about what this person is telling us, how would it fit with the culture in the group, and then just diving deep into what they are saying, right? So when they say that, hey, I did XYZ in my previous role, so we would dig deep into that. We'll be curious about what they are saying. We'll ask questions, and then we'll ask more questions to get to the end of it. The goal is really not to understand, to make sure that they did what they are saying they did, but more to get an insight into how they are presenting that information, right? So if at times they acknowledge that, yeah, I did this, but my teammates helped out in this way, or we as a team faced this problem and this is how we solved it. So when you dive into those little details, that's when you start seeing the true colors of the individual sitting across you, and you sort of try to get into whether they have the same set of values as what we value in the company. So just so you guys know, when we hire, we are really looking for two things. One is the ability, the willingness to want to learn, because we acknowledge that what we do is quite unique, and nowhere, no universities teach what we do. So we acknowledge that people, when they come in, we will have to train them, we'll have to teach them. But what we do want is someone who is willing to learn, who has that humility and hunger to want to learn the new things. And then second part that we look for is their willingness to apply themselves. That once we have taught them what we know, they would go the extra step and apply themselves, that they will apply their skills to do new things, take the risk, and not be afraid of making mistakes, and so on. So those are the two things that we look for. And just having long interviews, group interviews, is where we find a lot of success.
So I want to ask kind of one more question, and then I want Don to take over, because the one question I have is, you say you're looking for someone who's willing to learn, looking at that. So are there things that because if you ask someone, they're going to say, yeah. I mean, not very many are like, no, it's not my thing. Like that's, especially if they're applying for that. So are there things that you like, and not things that you're looking for, like, oh, I look for this answer, but like, how do you get, again, them to how do you look for that, them kind of revealing themselves for like, this isn't, or, oh yeah, this is my guy. And then why I say I want Don to take over, because you two both have this unique ability and real focus on looking for those unique gems, and I want to hear about that polishing, and I want her to really look into that. So plus, I don't know if you can hear, I have some accompaniment as well. But I really, how do you kind of have them reveal themselves, or see those kind of layered of onions with things like, no one's going to say, yeah, I don't learn. That's not my thing.
I mean, so for example, I think that it's easier if I maybe give you a couple of examples. So one of the individuals we interviewed about 3 years ago for a position of basically a research engineer. We were talking to him about, I mean, he was a fresh graduate out of college, just completed his Bachelor of Science in Chemical Engineering. So we asked him to tell about his project, right? The work that he had done in the lab. And so we started talking about it. And then we asked him, okay, how did you decide? How did you figure out that you needed to do this? So he told us a little bit more. And then during that conversation, he said that, oh, by the way, in order to do this work, I need to have really steady hands because XYZ technique is very sensitive. So then I was like, okay, tell me more about it. So then he told me that, he had to seek out people who were really good at executing that technique, and he learned from them how to do it right. And then he used that technique to analyze, I don't know, something like 50 samples to get the data that he was looking for. So just diving into that type of detail where they tell the whole story of how they actually solved a problem, what type of resourcefulness they had to bring to the table to get it done, that really reveals their caliber. Another example, we hired a scientist about a year ago. So we had interviewed him thoroughly. We were very happy. I had a feeling that he was a humble guy, and I mean, he has a lot of expertise that we needed, and that he's willing to learn. But then, as we were wrapping up the interview, he told us, very with a lot of humility, he said that, hey guys, if it so happens that you decide not to hire me, would you please just give me some feedback on why, right? So just, that him asking for that genuine feedback was a little thing that told me that he has that humility, he has that willingness to be better, to learn from, whatever they might have done wrong if they didn't get hired. I mean, those are the little things that show what people are made of.
Well, I love how you
make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. And that's where I feel like that's where I'm glad Erin thought of this topic for you, because, for me, it's like very smart scientists, researchers, you're doing a lot of difficult, hard things that, it's not just a normal day-to-day job. And so that's where even too, it's like when you need someone that has that expertise, but then if they're not willing to learn, and you got to do these extra things to make sure they're going to be the right fit to really get the outcome. And that's where I feel like, some people may have all these certain things in cookie cutter that you're looking for, or that, needle in the haystack, but there's all these other things that are valuable, and some things that you can't always teach somebody, or they may not have the social skills, but they may be the really scientist, detailed person, but they're not going to think outside the box for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's where I think it's interesting, just from your world of very smart individuals.
Yeah, I mean, most people that we interview or the positions that we look to fill, most resumes are pretty impressive. They come with, higher education, great, set of publications. But again, at the end of the day, research is doing something new, something that you haven't done before, no one has done before. So that willingness to always, that humility and willingness to just learn and then apply yourself, it's really, really crucial in what we do.
So once you hire someone, it's done, right? We're magic. We're good.
No, I mean,
Wow.
that is just a very small part of it. At this point, I feel that once we hire someone, right, we have done our part. But this is just a small part of what needs to happen next. Because once we bring someone new onto the company, they move from a different part of the country, they move their life to a new place, they dedicate themselves to a new, organization. So I feel that as a leader, it falls upon me to make sure that I'm doing everything in my power for them to be successful. So this is where that polishing part comes in. Working with these new hires and training them, teaching them things that I know, teaching them the fundamentals, foundational stuff, teaching them the applied science, stepping in the lab, working with them, showing them the nuances of different things that we do, how changing one knob changes the properties. So I've noticed that a lot of companies have training programs, but I really feel that superficial training programs are usually not enough. If we want to bring the best out of people, we really have to understand where they are in terms of skill set, and then commit to teaching them things that they need to learn. And regardless of what level of experience and education they come with, we should be open-minded that they may need a lot of hand-holding, and we should be. I am definitely open to do that. I do that all the time because I want them to be successful. I'll give you an example. So we had hired an intern back in, I think it was summer of 2019. And she was just a, second year biomedical engineer from UW-Madison. We brought her on board, but we did not treat her like an intern who probably doesn't know anything, just a pair of hands, give her something that she can do and be done with it. We actually treated her like an individual who can think, regardless of whether they are a second year student or they have a PhD. And I told her that, look, I need two things from you. I need you to be willing to learn, and I will teach you whatever you need to know. But after that, I also need you to really apply yourselves. And I will be with you through every step as long as you're doing those two things. So, I mean, in my role, I don't get a whole lot of time to actually step in the lab, and to make that time to work with her was not easy. But because we had brought her to our team, it was my responsibility to make sure that she was successful before she left, after 4 months of her internship. So I stepped in the lab with her personally. I taught her the foundations of what we do, told her the fundamentals of how things work. I taught her how to make the products that we make. And then I said that, look, I have showed you how we make our antimicrobial product. Now I need you to make me a prototype that also contains a local anesthetic. So she said that, okay, let me give it a try. So she, did the very simple thing, first thing, which was to just mix the local anesthetic in the formulation and coat it to make a film. And we obviously in research, nothing works for the first time. We always have to be very patient because gratification comes at a very late, much later, after a lot of, sort of failed experiments. They're not failed experiments because every experiment we learn something. Anyway, so she went through this same journey. First coating that she made, it just didn't coat. Second coating that she made, it had holes in it. Third coating she made, it was better because every step she was learning and changing things in the formulation. Let me try adding this surfactant, let's see what happens. And then after all that was done, she was getting really great results. Ankit Agarwal, who is the CEO, he said that, oh, I want to make a product that has 4% lidocaine, not 2%. We were like, okay. So we did that. And when we increased the concentration, it broke the formulation again. So she had to figure out, okay, what happened now? So then she figured out a solution, which was a really neat solution. And she made a prototype. Like in the 4 months that she was here, she left us with a working prototype that we are today obtaining regulatory approval from the FDA. Wow. So I mean, I wouldn't say that it was super hard project, but for someone at her level, it was challenging because it required so much learning, right? To go pick up the books, read the fundamentals. I told her that, hey, read, how the wettability works, read how you control the surface tension, read how the interfacial tension works, or the chemistry, etc. So I was telling her things that she needed to do, but she was the one who was applying herself. She was the one who was stepping up to learn those things and then apply them in the lab. So in 4 months, she gave us a prototype. And then, of course, others, smarter people feel that, oh, it's just a undergraduate who knows what she has done. So they tried to redo it differently to show that maybe that was not the most optimal way to do it, but they couldn't. That was the way to do it, and that is how we are doing it today. So so that is it. I mean, I think that I'm the type of leader, I tend to be people oriented. I want people to succeed. That's coded in my DNA. So that's what I did. I was with her, I taught her, I tried to sort of encourage her to learn on her own and apply herself. And she did. So she was a gem. We polished her. And then before she left, she gave us this beautiful prototype that we will be selling soon. And, I have tens of examples like that of people, of, amazing things that people on my team have done.
Well, I love it. I feel like too, that's the thing. It's like you've done all this research, you've done all this studying, you've done all these things, and look at how you're showing up as a leader and who maybe influenced you to become such a great leader like this, because you're making so many changes for people and just, wounds alone too. So who taught you?
I mean, so I am a product of a lot of support that I've received throughout my life. So first, my teachers through school, and then my professors at college, and then when I was at Dow Chemical Company, my mentors there. All of them have been so extremely gracious and in sharing their experiences, their learnings, things that they learned over years of hard work. They would share them with me openly. So it is because of their teachings, their willingness to hold my hands until I was ready to walk, and then hold my hands a little bit more until I was ready to run. That's what made me who I am. I mean, I feel like I have a fairly broad skill set. I was trained as a chemical engineer. Now I'm doing biomedical engineering. So learning the biological part, learning the coating sciences, learning the techniques to make these things at large scale. And it's other people who took time to teach me these things. So just taking a leaf out of their book that, I should treat other people with same humility, same generosity, give them what I know, and have faith that once I give them what I know, treat them with respect, create an environment where they can make mistakes and not be judged for it, they will repay that faith. And I tell you what, everyone on my team has repaid that faith like 10 times. Even before this vacation, when I left, we have so many things going on, but my team told me that, boss, go away, it's okay, we got it.
So what you're telling
You're-
me is employment doesn't have to be dark and stormy.
no, well, no, that is not at all how it is in my group. I am very, very proud of the people I have and how they have. I mean, it's not an uncommon occurrence when people on my team come up to me and say that, hey, let me take this off your plate. I mean, I feel so grateful that I'm surrounded with such people, because it sort of inspired me to give my best too.
So I hope with this, because our half hour is fast and it's up. So but having had coffee with you before and spending considerably longer than a half hour talking about these things with you, I hope everyone can see why we chose to focus on this team building and employment thing rather than the kind of cooler science part. I mean, at least I think it's cool stuff, because you really have some insight, and you can also see why I had told Dawn this, and I think I would love to have you guys do a podcast just about employment and team building and unique structures and how to polish those employee gems, because I would be your first subscriber. So thank you so much, Gaurav. I really appreciate you coming in. Dawn suggesting that not only we have him, but that I meet up with him before, because I'm taking notes the whole time on how to kind of go past that let's just hire someone fast and get this job filled, but think about how to have it filled for long term, not have it filled now.
Yeah, I mean, you have said it very well, Erin. Thanks for the kind words. But yes, at the end of the day, how I approach hiring people is basically adding people to my team, my family, and then owning the responsibility of their success. Because if they are successful, I'm successful, and that's really what is at the heart of this whole thing.
Keep shining and being that great leader, because look at all the changes you've made for so many people.
Oh, thank you, Dawn. Appreciate it.